successful has your organization been?
This organization was founded in the mid-'70s by disabled persons to ensure that the interests of poor people with disabilities were represented politically, especially those living in low-income housing. They have impacted locally by introducing the first disabled voter registration and education drive in Atlanta. Nationally, they testified before Congress at the Jesse Gray housing hearings. Those hearings set a new national standard for public housing by requiring every local housing authority to make at least 5% of its apartments handicap accessible.
Good evening, and thank you for tuning to this program. This is the voice of the voiceless. I'm your host, Calvin E. Peterson, and of course, this is our lovely co-host, Queen Sister Kim. Good to see you again.
It is so good to see you again. Also, King Brother Calvin Elliott Peterson, Reverend.
And today there are some distinguished guests here in the studio, and Queen Sister is going to introduce them and give them a chance to talk about some things that they are doing. So stay tuned. Queen Sister.
Thank you. So welcome to the show. We are very, very fortunate to have in the studio today some very powerful activists, authors, some very profound people working on some very important things in our community that we need to know about. So first we want to welcome Sister Gwendolyn Adams Evans to the show. And also we want to welcome Sister Ziandra, if I'm saying it correctly.
Yes.
Ziandra Isom.
Welcome.
Thank you
Yep.
for coming. And her mother, Cassandra Parks. So welcome to the Voice of the Voiceless.
Thank you.
And I'm very excited and interested to know and hear, we all are, what you have to share. And I'll start with you, Ms. Gwendolyn, telling us, because you are a spokesperson along with your resume is just very, very impressive. So we want to hear first from you, and you can share with us about our other guests before we hear from them.
Okay, well, I am a playwright and author, screenwriter.
Speak up.
Okay, I'm a playwright and author, screenwriter, and I'm also an activist for women's rights, abused women, also for battered women, and the anti-bullying program. But today I'm here on a special mission for Ms. Ziandra Isom, and we want to talk about the Marfan syndrome and how it affects over 200,000 people.
Okay, the Marfan syndrome.
Yes, the Marfan syndrome.
And so that we can understand, because many of us have not heard of that before, could you spell that for us?
It's MARFAN syndrome, SYNDROME.
Okay, Marfan syndrome. Okay, and could you share with us what that means?
Well, the Marfan syndrome affects over 200,000 people, and what it does, it affects the connective tissues, the heart, the bone, and other areas of the body, and the eyesight as well. So she's having difficulty right now, but she's very strong, she's very determined, and she wants to be a spokesperson for this syndrome so people can understand. Because recently they went on a cruise, and they had a problem. Her mom had a problem with doing and taking her out on the beach and everything on the ship, and people were actually mocking her and laughing at her. So we want to try to get people educated on that. Isaiah Austin, who was a basketball player, was recently diagnosed with this syndrome as well.
Okay.
Ziandra is a very outstanding young woman, and I'm doing a documentary to help to bring that into focus so people can understand that. She's also an ex-recording artist as well.
A recording artist?
Yes. And
oh my goodness. Okay.
we want people to understand that just because you have this syndrome, that doesn't mean that you're totally disabled in everything that you do.
Okay. So so that we can understand more how this syndrome affects Zeandra and how it comes about. Is it something, because you mentioned someone recently diagnosed with it who's a ball player. Is it something you're born with it, or is it something that comes about? Yeah, either of you can
I could
respond to
address
that.
Some families have a genetic component to the syndrome, having that syndrome in their family. Some families, it's a new diagnosis where it's a mutation in a gene, unfortunately. And the syndrome is somewhat hidden sometimes. They call it the silent killer because you can be walking around, not know you have it, and then just kind of pass out. Basically, you're athletes. Flo Hyman, back in the 80s, she was the Olympic volleyball player, and she sat down on the bench. They had timed her out, and then she just collapsed. And no one thought, they just said, what happened? And when they did the diagnosis and found out, examined her, they found out she had Marfan syndrome, but it was too late for her. That's why they call it the silent killer, because you look okay. Most folks look okay, but it saved her brother's life. So that was the genetic component in her family.
Okay.
My daughter Zeandra has a mutation component to her syndrome. She has a severe form of it. They call her classic textbook. If the doctors open a book and look in there, she's just what the book would say. The flexible wrist that can go all the way back, the arachnodigitalia, the long fingers, the scoliosis spine, which she's had surgery. Counting the surgeries, about 10 surgeries. She's had open heart, spinal head surgery, foot surgery, eye surgery. And each one of those, of course, affects her functioning, her, everything in her life, including the family.
Can we speak up loudly?
Yes. I'm so sorry. Did you need me to repeat some of the things I said, or is it not clear? Some families have the genetic, some do not.
Right. So in your case, you said it was a mutation.
Yes, that's correct.
A mutation. So when did you all discover it?
She was about 2.5. And I took her in because her eye would not center. It affects the vision and the bones and the heart.
Okay.
And when I took her in to see the specialist, he said, she has Marfan syndrome. And I
They
said,
just knew
excuse me, because
immediately.
one of her eyes, he knew, he was an Army doctor,
Okay.
a pediatric ophthalmologist.
Okay.
And one of her eyes would not focus, it wouldn't stay centered. So he knew he said, looking at her hands, and of course this was Martian language to me. I had never heard of anything called Marfan syndrome.
Right.
And then the whole story unfolded from there, and it was one surprise after another, and quite a challenge in Zeandra's life as well as mine, and the family. Big adjustment. She was my first girl, and I never expected anything like that in my life to happen. I ate right and tried to do everything as they say, textbook.
Right.
But she's a special person.
So, let us hear from the star of this show.
That's right.
Yes.
So I want to hear about a few things. I would eventually want to hear about your being a recording artist and the cruise experience, but what are some main things that you would like people to understand about your experience? And, because most people just don't know. They just simply don't know and may act out of ignorance.
The main thing is, it is just a struggle from day one. A struggle. And you gotta just have a strong mind, because this condition will put you through a lot of, let's just say it would test you on every level possible.
Amen.
And you just really sometimes have to be like, okay, man, I'm just gonna have to keep on doing what I'm having to do, because it just always seems like this condition is just really trying to hurt me. But then sometimes I have to remind myself, you know what, Lord, I got it now, I'm here, I might as well do what I had to do for the time I'm here, keep on pushing, because even though it keeps trying to do what it has to do, I somehow have to tell myself, well, you know what, I gotta just keep going and keep pushing, because the condition continues to keep pushing with the symptoms and what it does to my body. So if it keeps pushing, I figure, well, I might as well keep pushing too, and maybe I can push more than it can push.
Right.
Yes, Yes.
All right, that's inspiring to all of us. How does it affect you in terms of, the symptoms and like even now, what's your challenge in terms of how it affects you?
My heart and my fatigue level is very withdrawn. I get dizzy. Sometimes I can't walk too far without sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my biggest struggles is now I can't walk or go outside because I'm worried I'm going to fall. I'm having a lot of these fainting spells lately.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just frustrating because it's like, man, gee, there goes another thing taken away from me again. So how am I going to get around this one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's a constant uphill battle. You constantly it's like you gotta just keep putting your rod in that rope and just keep on climbing. Because if you forget at one point as you coming up that mountain to keep putting your rod in there, you just see you're gonna slip back down. You gotta just keep putting it in there and keep on going.
Right, right. So what are some things that you would like to happen in terms of as we become more aware of it as a community? I know you're doing the documentary, and that's going to be excellent for us to become more aware of it. But are there anything that the community can do to bring more awareness to it? And is it research? Is it diet? Is it nutrition? Like, what resources are needed to help?
I would say educate, and it's all about how, I would say at this point, how we would present it. Like, even if I would say, I don't know, maybe some T-shirts could be made and say, this is what I have. I'm not anorexic. I don't have AIDS. This is Marfan's.
Mm-hmm.
That would help too, to bring more awareness about it, and also to make it more entertaining so people don't be like, oh, she's just trying to put on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, this is for real.
Right.
This is what's really going on.
Right.
So that would help too.
Okay. So tell us about the documentary.
Well, the documentary, again, is structured on Deandra's life, and the educational part is to make people more aware of the syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as she said before, she's been bullied around, she's been talked about, picked at, laughed at, and everything. And we want to bring this awareness to the public. And we also want to make sure that the public knows that Deandra is open for open public speaking, because that's her dream, that's her desire.
Mm-hmm.
Just because she's disabled doesn't mean that she can't do anything. So the documentary is to bring forth her potentiality, to let them know that she is a cut above and she can do anything.
We can feel that.
Right.
I mean, just a powerful
Yeah.
speaker.
She's very powerful.
Very powerful.
And she's been on talk shows before with her record. She did a CD.
Yeah, let's hear about this, about the record, and about your talent and passion as a recording artist.
Oh yeah. Well, the record, let's see what inspired me. It was all about, I would say, the movement of this condition, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the movement is basically just about the overall journey and what it does to people living with this on an everyday basis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it tells it's like a story or like a beginning point,
Uh-huh.
and then an end. And it basically just represents, our struggle and what we go through. We like warriors.
Well,
Yes.
yes. Oh,
Yes.
So, can you give us a sample?
a little piece.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You didn't bring your album.
Do we need to
Bring it,
beatbox or
didn't-
anything?
The name of it
Yeah.
was
I think I remember some of the words from it.
Marfan Legacy.
Yeah.
All right.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Hit it.
Okay, this is our Marfan legacy. This is our Marfan legacy. This is our Marfan legacy. The story about how our journey became to be. Like gravity, we didn't fall too far from the tree. It was just out of the sea. Holy luck, as you can see, our divine intuitions, not too short of history, tall statues of us dancing. Let's see. I think fate of destiny, worshiping our Creator for giving us a chance to breathe.
Yes,
Let's see.
that's good.
And I can only hope that, one more line,
Okay, so-
I can only hope that something like da 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 da.
Well, we can see you're a writer as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You're an excellent writer.
Oh, yes.
Yes, are you working on any writing projects? Or?
Not at this time, no.
Okay,
Can
well,
I add to that?
Uh-huh.
She did this round about 18 years old. She's 26 now.
okay,
And she was in that mode.
right.
But then the surgeries kind of got her,
Mhm,
she got away from it.
mhm.
And she said, well, I think I want to take my talents in a different direction. And she said, I'd rather be a spokesperson than actually just making records and writing them. But that will never be forgotten. She wrote her
Absolutely.
legacy there.
Oh,
so.
there's some seeds planted, and if I could make a suggestion, I would say write, continue to write a book, and speak, and offer your book, to the community as you speak as well.
She does have plans, aspirations for doing a one-woman stage play.
Oh my goodness.
So we're going to work on that next. We're going to do the script together, her mom, herself, and myself.
Okay. Well, tell us about your production company.
Well, my production company is a nonprofit production company.
Speak up just a little bit
Okay,
more.
my production company is a nonprofit production company. I write a lot of gospel plays and I do a lot of fundraisers for churches
Okay.
and organizations, and we do that to help the community out as much as possible. I get a lot of untalented people and make them into talented people, by pulling them from the neighborhoods and the communities and everything and giving them a voice,
Mhm.
giving them a face, in the place, and let people see how talented they really are. So that's what I'm about. I write plays. I'm a lyricist myself. I'm also a radio host myself. So
Okay.
I'm busy all the time when I'm not writing.
Okay. Well, can you share with us about the books that you've written?
Well, the books that I've written, one is called Joe Bleen, A Woman of Strength. I did a play about that.
You said Joe Bleen,
Joe Bleen,
a woman of strength.
A Woman of Strength.
Okay.
And that was a gospel play written about, it was a true story about a woman that was struggling with AIDS and
Mhm.
doing a lot of drinking back then. She deserted her child. I won't give away the whole story. But it's a drama thing. It's a life story about a woman who was just insecure with herself.
Mhm.
And she became a woman of the night and, had different things going on in her life with
Mhm.
giving her child up for adoption, to her mom first.
Mhm.
And then just walking away from life, period. She became a drug addict and she was just out there for a long time.
Right.
So she became endowed with the faith that she knew that God would bring her back. So she started praying and she got involved in a church and she got back on track again. That's what that's about, shortly, a little short story.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And the other books?
Well, Dolores is a horror story. It was something that was like a fairy tale at one time when I was a kid. It's about a witch. And again, it's a gospel-based book about how strong your faith is and how you can fight demons just by believing in God and having that strength to move on. That's what it's about. It's about a family that moved from one place to another, and they were haunted by this apparition who was trying to take this little girl over, That's Dolores. And all these books are available on Amazon.com.
Okay. And the other books, the Cassie Johnson story?
Cassie Johnson is about a woman who developed the AIDS virus,
Uh-huh.
and she was out there herself. She was a woman of the night herself, and she didn't know exactly which turn she was going to go. And, for child molestation from her family and people in her family, I'm not at liberty to really talk about that much without her permission, but it's a very dramatic book about a woman that struggled. Again, she was a dope addict, and she contracted the AIDS virus. And her life has been a living hell ever since. She's on a better track, a pathway in life, but that book is also available on Amazon.com.
Okay, and so that people will be able to find them. I just want to be clear about the first book, because that's a powerful story. It's Joe Bleen, Jobleen.
That's correct.
Joe Bleen, A Woman of Strength. and then the Dolores, Dolores.
Yeah, that's true. That's correct.
That's the horror story.
That's the horror story.
Okay. And then A Winter Without a Coat, the Cassie Johnson story.
Right.
Okay, and then the last book is called The Wailing Alien.
The Wailing Alien. It's
The
a fun-
Wailing Alien,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
fun book for kids.
Oh, okay. The
It
Wailing
just tells a
Alien.
story about aliens coming down and coming to this lady's farm, you know, stealing the cheese, which she made, which she was popular for. An enlightening story for children. In the essence of in the story form of the storyline of the whole book, the book is showing you how to give and to receive, you know, blessings, because this alien had a special creative talent that helped the whole city where he was at.
Yeah, and
So
you
it's-
have a special creative talent. What is your story? How long have you been writing and producing these creative works?
I started in high school at 17 years old, and I've been writing ever since. I mean, I've got tons of scripts, and I just sold a recent script, and I'm writing another script for a production company. I just did another script for another production company.
And she said that she's going to do our book.
Oh, okay, the Reverend Calvin Peterson story.
Yeah, he has been helping.
Absolutely, the story we're so how did you get connected with Zeandra and Cassandra?
Zeandra called me, and I guess she found me on the internet, and we did a radio show. She was on my radio show first, and I showcased her album cover. It's called Giovanni, and
Giovanni?
Yes.
Okay.
Make-A-Wish Foundation made that possible for
Yes,
her.
they did.
And of course, she had the 103 personalities to help her along and do all the things that she needed to do. And in turn, from me having the interview with her on my radio show, another one of my colleagues, Franz Ace, who is a Metal to Music recording CEO, he had her on her show, and then that show went viral. It just went everywhere for her album cover, you know, for her album, for the song. So I guess Zeandra just found me on the internet. Anybody can find me on the internet. you know.
Okay, Gwendolyn Adams, hyphen Evans.
Right.
Okay, now tell us about your radio show. Is that taking place now?
Yes, it's ongoing. One is a radio show for independent artists, hip hop artists, gospel singers, anybody in that genre, dancers, artists of all forms, actresses, you know, of all forms.
What station is it on?
This particular is an internet radio show, and it's on also, you can find it on 107.9, you can find it on Blog Talk Radio. The other radio station is 107.9. It's called The Artist Loft.
The Artist Loft.
The Artist Loft.
L-O-F-T.
L-O-F-T.
Okay.
And then there's another one called In the Know, which is on Spreaker.com. And what we do...
Spreaker.com?
Spreaker.
Oh, how is that?
Spreaker.
Okay.
And we talk about everything in the know from around the city. Matter of fact, your show is going to be, People TV is going to be in the next episode.
Okay.
We've been doing that because I was actually looking through, you know, the internet, and I found that. And then, of course, Gwen Lancaster talked to me about, you know, Calvin Peterson and what he does. So, you know, it's just all connected because God always puts you where you want to be, where he wants you to be.
Yes.
Right, those
And
light
then,
energies.
Right, the light
They
energies.
draw.
And,
I'm utterly grateful.
Absolutely.
Right.
He's a great connector.
right, and by the way, Jolene was a play that was, this has been about 2 years now, 2 or 3 years old,
Okay.
for a church organization. They needed to raise some money, and we did the play there at the church.
Awesome. We certainly want to know about any other works that you have coming out. How can we follow you? We know the radio programs,
Right.
Breaker.com, and you said Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, it's on Blog Talk Radio, and there's one more, Dreams Can Become Reality.
Dreams Can Become Reality. That's another radio program.
Right, and it's through the Arlene Brown TV network.
Arlene Brown
Arlene Brown.
TV network.
Right.
How do we find that?
You can just go on the internet and look up Dreams Can Become Realities with Gwen Evans. And Arlene Brown is a TV network host herself, and I'm a co-host. And we just talk about things that are happening in and around the city in every genre of life, you know. So we're just out there trying to help people along, supporting each other as best we can.
Excellent. Now, are there any other things that you all are working on, Zeandra and Cassandra?
No,
Um,
at the moment. just getting this documentary up and
Yeah.
running.
And being an
is take-
inspiration, yeah, absolutely.
Actually, Gigi is my inspiration, because I've lost my way many a times in dealing with the Marfan syndrome,
Mhm.
and helping Zaya through her journey.
Yeah,
I also have another child, her brother, who's autistic. He's 30, Zayandra's 26, so I go back and forth between the two worlds and plus my own personal world, trying to hold everybody together. Then I have a younger sister, she has a younger sister, and I have a younger child of 20. But Gigi's been a constant force. She'll call me, she'll check in, Cassandra, well, just let me know when you feel a little better, just let me know when we can do it, we're gonna get this going, and she keeps the force alive. She keeps the hope alive, at least for me.
now, is there any support that you're receiving in the community, or what type of support would you like to receive? What could help?
I hadn't even thought past that, other than awareness and bringing it out to the forefront, coming out of the closet, so to speak, and letting people know the silent suffering about this syndrome and what it does to a family, what it does to the person living with it day to day. So with the help of Gigi, that's just as far as I've gotten. At least we stepped out of the closet.
Right.
And thanks to you and Pastor, we're utterly grateful for the exposure, and that's a start for us, and I'm grateful for that. And I wanted to add that Zayandra is blind in her left eye completely, and legally blind in her right, and the right eye is starting to go, let's put it that way. I mean, the vision is very poor, and the vitreous is breaking out, which is like the white of an egg, and it's not intact. So her vision that's really all she has, but despite that, she still is fighting, and Gigi helps us glue it together.
Now,
We are utterly grateful.
this is so interesting because God is doing something special.
Yes, he is.
On November the 16th at 6 o'clock in the evening, I and Queen Sister is going to be hosting a live TV show that will give daddies and mamas a chance to come on TV to talk about how it is to have a disabled child.
Yes.
And to encourage those parents who are just starting out having disabled children. So
Right.
the door is open to you all to
Thank
be
you.
a part of the show.
Thank you.
And
All right, I have a question. Are there any things that you've come across that help to alleviate any of the symptoms in any way? Does diet seem to help at all? Is there anything that seems to?
We're lacto-vegetarians. We've always been particular with our diet. We try to do organic and, the black rice and the herbs and everything, and we don't do red meat. And, so it wasn't brought about by diet. It's just like a malfunctioning, unfortunately, in the gene makeup of, not the gene, but way the genes mutated, so.
okay, so that's the end of this segment. Thank you all.
Deandra wanted to say, there was something you wanted to add?
Yes, I'm just forever grateful for this experience. This has means so much to me, and I want to appreciate everybody and you too, Pastor Peterson, and you too, Gigi, and your you too. I just appreciate the whole team and what y'all have done for me, because this is just, just to get this story out here, this message.
Yes.
It's just going to change the world.
Yeah.
This is just the best time ever. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
We
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Also.
light and your strength, and keep
Yes.
pressing on.
Yeah.
And it's truly inspiring a lot of people, including myself. Thank you, Ms. Gwen.
Thank
and
you.
Ms. Cassandra, thank you
This is
so much.
support right here. This is support. Every person we touch is support. It just helps you hang in there a little longer.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
And I have a copy of my book to give you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Never give up, the Reverend Calvin
Exactly.
Peterson story.
Okay,
Never give up,
Never give up.
Deandra and Cassandra.
Thank you.
And Gwen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So stay tuned for the next half an hour. I would like to speak this morning from a thing that I heard Gertrude Peterson said to me. I was about 8 years old. And everything that I had asked for as a child, she tried her best to give it to me. And I had gone to her this day, and I said, if you die before I do, what's going to happen to me? And she looked at me and she said, son, the Lord will take care of it. I think that I had gone to her in 1958. Ask that question. Well, here we are, 2005. And the Lord has taken care of me. And thank you for tuning in to this segment. And that was a history of disability in action. Now on this segment, of course, that is the Queen Sister Camilla, who is still here. She's going to introduce each person on this segment, and very interesting people that are here.
We have another powerful panel of
Yes.
guests here, and we want to welcome, and I have to act like I don't know you so well, but we go way back, like we reunited now like Peaches and her, but we have Sister Queen Mildred Obey here, Thank you for coming. And we have Doc Ed. And we have the distinguished Zakira Tupac L joining us here again with an entirely new look for 2015, looking very distinguished. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. So we have I know we have a lot to share, so we're just gonna kind of start right in with you, Miss Obie, Mildred Obie. And I know you want to share with us about your nonprofit that is a passion of yours, that has been a dream, a vision for many, many years. And we're going to start there talking about your nonprofit.
Yes, of course, Mildred Garrison Obie's my name, and We Travel, We Dream is my nonprofit. I don't know if you remember way back in the day, you helped me come up with my logo.
I remember.
We Travel, We Dream is mainly geared to inspire foster children and homeless children to dream beyond their circumstances. If we could travel, they learn their culture, they learn other cultures, then they can inspire others as well as themselves, elevate their self-esteem to dream beyond the circumstances.
Absolutely. So you want to expose them to more than their surroundings.
The inspiration, like I say, I have a group of people together that teachers, health people in the health field that can give them the compassion, the knowledge, and the wisdom that they need, like I say, to elevate their self-esteem, to engage them to be more than what society has deemed them to be.
And I admire you for the vision and for staying focused and committed, because We Travel is coming into being. It is happening, but when it's fully, manifested, what will it look like? What will you be? What will the children be, exposed to?
First of all, we will be doing workshops, so to speak, history lessons. The three engagements that I have on my calendar is New Orleans, good history, South Carolina, it's wonderful history, and Memphis. So what we'll do is, get the history of those three places and then go from there. And prayerfully we can go beyond.
Yes, and you will. So I'm saying, like, I'm in it.
But
We're
of
going to
course.
be going on several trips and really
Locally, and then like I say.
And tell us what inspired you. How is this personal for you?
We Travel, We Dream, like I say, it's been in my spirit forever and ever because I was a product of foster care. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. I'm kind of glad. I met with my family 2 weeks ago and listening to their story, I'm kind of glad that, I was in foster care. And then, of course, homelessness. I was homeless in 2012 when I'm fighting the system. However, I was
Right.
evicted.
And for that reason is when I developed a new title for you, my Sojourner Truth, our modern day Sojourner Truth. So tell us briefly about your journey with being evicted and taking on that cause and standing up and winning.
Yes. I became disabled, and of course there's laws in place to protect us. However, the system wasn't hearing it. I reached out to the entities that are in place to help us and protect us, and of course.
To help you save your home.
Yes, like legal aid, you know, attorneys, and I think it's a social status thing. I didn't qualify.
You didn't qualify for legal help.
Yeah, so I began to work pro se, setting up all night.
What does that mean, that you
Pro se, yeah, representing myself,
started representing yourself?
putting documentation into the court system well, speaking the truth.
Yeah.
However, what I've learned, pro se litigants don't get respect. We don't get any
But
respect.
you did.
Well, yeah.
Eventually.
Right. We calculated about 8 years, but it was the last 3 years that were most crucial. When they foreclosed, then I began to fight harder. Like I say, learning the laws, putting the laws into place. So they foreclosed in August 09, and I stayed in the house until November the 16th, 2012. So that was 3 years. We were back and forth
Right.
into the court system.
And since I know the story kind of firsthand, I'll just say really quickly that most people would have been out on the streets at well before, and because that's why I call you Sojourner Truth, because you fought and fought and fought, and even once your house was foreclosed upon, and even once you were evicted, you still fought, and you are now back in your house. So can you tell us how that story ended real quick?
Well, you know, as I was fighting alone, the spiritual voice would tell me, you know, we got this, but you have to do your part. So yeah, I had to do that. The day that I was evicted, it was amazing. They, you know, set your personal belongings out in the morning, and that evening I received a correspondence from the appeals court granting my motion for
Wow.
reconsideration.
Okay,
So
what's
that
that?
was definitely an illegal eviction. So, you know, homeless, it just wasn't an option. I began to engage support.
And I know Occupy Homes was a part of that, a big part of
Exactly,
that.
a big part.
And you eventually got back in your home.
We took the locks off. And
so
we
you're
went
now
back.
in your home, free and clear. I know there's a lot more to the story.
Indeed.
And we want to read your book
Indeed.
and documentary. But I know that you were going through a lot of health challenges at the same time, and natural health options are really important to you. And so I want to bring in at this point our other guests who are some amazing healers and working with the community as well. And we have Doc Ed, who is an herbalist, and I want to introduce you, and then we'll also hear from Brother Tupac L. So Doc Ed, can you share with us what you do in the natural health field?
Well, we have a clinic. It's actually run by a Chinese doctor. He was been in the treating people since he was 14 because his house was on the top tier in China, and the clinic was at the bottom. So he always got curious, young, and so he's got about 47 years of experience. What I've gained is the fact that in the starting days of me, my daughter had breast, liver, and kidney cancer. So I was fighting to keep her alive.
Your daughter had breast, liver, and kidney
yeah.
cancer?
So I started pounding the pavement I was just like a nightmare, she is the favorite, whether the others want to know it or not, because she has that gift to gab, and she's loved by many people. But what happened is that it led me to all kinds of solutions. So I was able to revive her. She got one point where she wouldn't take the 9 pieces of fruit to make her body alkaline, and I had to just about spank her at 34 years old because I was going crazy. So then what that did was that was a warm-up for my 5 cancers, high blood pressure and diabetes, and I put 9 atomic bombs. I call them atomic bombs. Each atomic bomb kills cancer, so my cancer didn't have a chance. I already done enough studying that we were even involved with ozone treatment possibility, but they were going to take you and put you in the jailhouse, and I wasn't ready to do that as a
Oh,
young.
wow. So you helped your daughter overcome the
All three
cancers that
cancers.
she had?
Yeah.
Wow, and
So
then
that was a
you-
warm-up for my 5, so.
You had 5 cancers?
Yeah, so it made it sort of easy, because I was well-read, and I even turned a guy around with HIV. I never saw him, but I figured out that the herb hyssop that was on Jesus' lips
Hyssop, uh-huh.
actually, did the same symptoms as HIV, so I said, hey, I gotta try it. So I picked up the phone and called Will, and Will, God's led me through the merchandise mart, and it was a wellness, type of trade show.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting. On the third table was the answer to our breast, liver, and kidney cancer.
And that
It
was? the
hyssop.
Hyssop,
Right.
yeah.
Hyssop actually spreads the red blood cells, because if you spread the red blood cells, then cancer cannot form, because the anaerobic cell eats the oxygen out of the red blood cells, and what that does is makes the cancer cells stick.
Wow.
When they're stuck, then your body grows into algae.
So how do you use a hyssop, and where can we find you?